My father died when I was 16, and the day after the funeral I learned something nobody tells you when you're still a kid. Grief doesn't just take the person you love. Sometimes it takes the people who are still alive too. My dad, Elliot Harper, wasn't a loud man. He didn't do big speeches about hard work. He did the work. Night shifts when he had to. Weekends when overtime was available. He fixed hospital equipment, monitors, pumps, machines that had to be right because close enough doesn't exist when lives depend on it. He was the kind of man who made stability feel boring on purpose because boring meant safe. Boring meant predictable. Boring meant I could be a teenager instead of a problem solver. And he planned like that was love. When I was 15, he showed me a folder he kept in a filing cabinet with labels and tabs and printed statements. He told me he'd set up a protected education fund for me. Not a vague someday we'll figure it out, but an actual legal structure, an education trust. He explained it in plain words, like he was teaching me how to read a blueprint. "This is for school," he said. "For your future. Nobody touches it for nonsense." I laughed because I couldn't imagine my mother doing anything that cruel. He didn't laugh back. He just looked at me for a long second and said, "Promise me you'll fight for yourself if you ever have to." I promised. 2 months later, he was gone. A sudden aneurysm. 1 minute he existed, the next minute the world had a hole in it shaped exactly like him. After the funeral, for about a year, my mother, Karen, functioned. She cried when she thought I wasn't watching. She went to work. She made dinner some nights. She held herself together with that quiet stubbornness people mistake for strength. The life insurance had taken most of the pressure off the house. We weren't wealthy, but we weren't desperate. We could have been okay. Then she met Tyson. The first time I saw him, I was in the kitchen making boxed mac and cheese, the kind my dad used to improve with extra butter, like it was a secret chef trick. The back door opened, and there she was with this young man behind her, like she'd brought home a new personality. He had bright white sneakers that looked like they'd never touched real dirt, hair styled too carefully, smile too easy. His whole look screamed, "I'm here to sell you something." "Hey," he said, reaching out his hand. "I'm Tyson. Your mom talks about you like you're her best friend." I was 17. My mom was 42. Tyson claimed he was 24, but he moved through the world like somebody who had never been told no without pitching a fit. He sat at our table like it was his. He talked like he was recording a podcast. Everything was energy and alignment and leverage. He used the word wealth like seasoning, too much of it to cover the fact there was nothing solid underneath. He asked what I wanted to study. I said engineering. He leaned back and smirked. "College is a scam," he said. "You know what you need? A personal brand. I can show you how to build one. Your dad probably didn't understand the new economy." The air in my chest turned sharp. My dad, who worked himself tired so I could have choices, didn't understand. And my mother laughed. Actually laughed like Tyson had made a charming joke instead of insulting the dead man who built our stability. That was the first time I realized my mother wasn't just dating him. She was auditioning for a different life, one where grief could be drowned in attention, adrenaline, and the illusion of being wanted. Tyson started showing up more. Then he started staying over. Then one day I came home from school and his toothbrush was in our bathroom like it had always belonged there. My mom didn't sit me down. She didn't ask how I felt. She announced it like it was a normal household update. "Tyson's going to be here for a while," she said, smoothing her hair in the mirror. "His roommate situation got complicated." It wasn't a question. It was a decision. He took up space fast, physically and emotionally. He ate our groceries. He left energy drink cans in my dad's office. He played music too loud, made phone calls on speaker, laughed at his own jokes, and treated me like a younger coworker who needed mentoring. He gave me unsolicited advice about mindset. He called me stressy. He told me I needed to manifest ease. It was easy for him to preach calm when he wasn't paying for anything. And my mother changed. She dressed younger. She went out more. She started staying up late like she was trying to outpace her own thoughts. Family dinner disappeared. Everything became Tyson's schedule, Tyson's mood, Tyson's opinions. I didn't recognize the house anymore. It stopped feeling like home. It felt like a stage where Tyson was always performing, and my mother was his biggest fan. The one thing I believed was untouchable was my education fund. My dad had set it up specifically to protect my future, and I checked it online once a month. Not because I didn't trust my mom, but because my dad had trained me to verify what mattered. He used to say, "Trust isn't the same as proof." 3 months before graduation, I logged in like I always did. The balance wasn't $90,000. It wasn't even $50. It was $9,713. For a moment, I thought I'd typed the wrong password and landed in someone else's account. I refreshed, logged out, logged back in, checked the account number, same. I opened the transaction history, and there it was. Withdrawal after withdrawal after withdrawal, like someone had been scooping my future out with a ladle. Some were a few thousand, some were nearly 10. Dozens of them, month after month, steady, methodical, clinical. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. My hands felt numb. My heart felt like it was trying to climb out of my throat. Then I walked into the kitchen. My mom was scrolling on her phone. Tyson was behind her eating cereal straight from the box, like the world existed to feed him. I said, very calmly, "Where is my education fund?" My mom didn't even pretend to be surprised. She sighed, like I'd asked about taking out the trash. "We needed it." I blinked. "We?" Tyson didn't flinch. He didn't look guilty. He looked entertained, like this was a scene he'd seen before. My mom said, "Bills, household expenses, things got tight." "The mortgage is mostly paid," I said. "You have a job. What tight?" Her face sharpened into irritation. "Don't interrogate me," she snapped. "Do you know what it costs to keep a house running? Do you know what grief does to a person?" She used grief like a shield, like a permission slip. I looked at Tyson again, and my mom followed my gaze. She spoke faster, defensive, rehearsed. "Tyson has opportunities," she said. "He's investing. It's temporary. It'll come back. You'll see." That's when the last part of my denial died. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't "I lost track." This was a choice. Over the next week, I did what my dad would have done. I gathered facts. While my mom worked and Tyson went networking, I went through paperwork. I wasn't looking to sabotage anything. I wasn't looking to steal. I was looking for the truth, because if my future was going to be destroyed, I wanted to know exactly who lit the match. In a drawer behind old holiday placemats, I found credit card statements, balances that had ballooned, charges at places my mom never used to shop, men's clothing stores with prices that made my stomach turn, steakhouse dinners, electronics. Then I found a notebook, my mom's handwriting, dates, amounts, and next to each withdrawal from my education trust, a neat little justification, like she was building a story to tell later. Household stability, transportation needed, mental health support, opportunity investment for future security. She wasn't hiding it from herself. She was documenting the narrative she planned to use if anyone questioned her authority as trustee. And that's when I understood why she hadn't looked scared when I confronted her. She believed she could explain it away. Maybe she could. Trust language can be slippery. For the beneficiary's welfare can be twisted into almost anything if someone is shameless enough. But the paper trail didn't lie. The fund wasn't supporting my welfare. It was financing Tyson's performance of success. And the most humiliating part? Tyson wasn't stealing from my mom. He was using her, and she was using me. 2 weeks before I was supposed to move into my dorm, I woke up and the house felt different, quiet in that unnatural way that makes your skin prickle. No music, no loud phone calls, no cologne cloud lingering in the hallway. I walked downstairs and found my mom sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her hands like they belonged to someone else. "Where's Tyson?" I asked. She didn't look up. "He left." I waited for the rest. She swallowed. "He's gone. Gone." I checked the bedroom. Half the closet was empty. Drawers cleared, his charger cord gone, his laptop gone. The little expensive grooming products that had multiplied in our bathroom? Gone. Then I looked outside. The newer SUV my mom had started making payments on, because Tyson said it was smarter for safety and a better image, was gone too. My stomach sank in slow motion. And then the mail started arriving like the universe was delivering receipts. A credit card statement my mom didn't recognize, then another, a letter about a personal loan she had co-signed, an overdraft notice, a warning about missed payments. My mom kept repeating the same sentence, like it might change reality if she said it enough times. He said he loved me. He didn't love her. He loved what she could access. And the education trust? The final withdrawal hit the day before he disappeared. My mom had approved it. She'd handed him cash because he told her it was the last step before the big payout. It wasn't a payout. It was his exit bonus. That night, my mom came into my room with red eyes and trembling hands. For 1 second, I thought she was going to apologize. I thought she was going to say my name the way she used to, like I mattered, like she remembered I was her child. Instead, she said, "You might need to postpone school." I stared at her. She kept going, voice gaining confidence as she spoke, like she could talk herself into making it my responsibility. "Just for a year. Work. Help me stabilize. We'll figure college out later." My chest felt hollow. "My dad planned this," I said. "For me." Her eyes hardened. "I'm your mother," she said, as if that single sentence rewrote history. "I sacrificed for you." And there it was, the pivot, the entitlement, the script. Tyson was gone. So she needed a replacement. She wanted me to become the person she could drain next. I said, "No." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "No?" she repeated. "I'm going to school," I said. "I'm not fixing this." Her mouth trembled. Then her face twisted into anger. "How can you be so heartless?" she demanded. I looked at her and said, as evenly as I could, "Because somebody has to be responsible in this house." She told me to leave. She didn't say it like a bluff. She said it like she wanted control back, and the only leverage she had left was cruelty. So I packed a bag and called my best friend. His parents picked me up that night and didn't ask for rent or explanations. They just opened their home like that's what decent people do. I left the next morning with a duffel bag, my acceptance letter, and the understanding that being someone's child doesn't mean being their life raft. I started college on scholarships, work study, and loans. Not the life my dad planned, but a life my mother couldn't take from me anymore. College was brutal. I worked late shifts at the campus library. I took early morning labs. I ate ramen until I hated the smell of it. I wore the same winter coat until the zipper died and I held it closed with a safety pin, like I was stitching my life together the same way. And my mom called every few months, never to say I'm sorry, never to ask how I was doing, just updates about her problems, delivered with that same tone, like my life was an extension cord she could plug into whenever she needed power. She lost the house, then the car, then friends stopped answering. And each time the unspoken message was the same. You could fix this if you weren't so selfish. I learned something in those years that I carry like a weapon now. Your emergency is not my responsibility, especially when the emergency is the result of choices you defended for years. By 26, I had a stable job in quality engineering at a manufacturing plant. Not glamorous, not flashy, honest work. The kind my dad would respect. Because it was real. One Saturday morning, there was a knock at my apartment door. When I opened it, my mom was standing there. She looked older than her age, thinner, eyes tired in a way makeup can't hide. She walked in like she still had authority in my life, like time hadn't passed, like she hadn't signed away my future one withdrawal at a time. She looked around my place, the clean counters, the decent couch, the quiet stability, and said, "Must be nice." I didn't answer. She sat at my table and said, "I need $18,000. No build-up, no apology first, just a number, like she was ordering off a menu. Then she added, "You can pay me back." and caught herself because she didn't mean that. She meant she would pay me back. She promised she'd do $250 a month. I did the math. That's 6 years of payments, 6 years of calls, 6 years of manipulation, 6 years of her still having a hook in me. I said no. Her eyes went wet, then sharp, then angry. "You're really going to let your own mother drown?" she demanded. I finally said the sentence that had been waiting in my chest for a decade. "You spent my father's love on a stranger." She tried crying, then guilt, then rage, then she reached for the last weapon she had left, the one she knew could still hurt if I let it. "Your dad would hate who you've become," she said. I stood up so slowly, it felt like my bones were deciding something, and I said very quietly, "Don't use his name like a crowbar." My mother left with the kind of anger that comes from realizing the door is actually closed, not temporarily, forever. A month later, I got served. Court papers. My mother was suing me for support. The filing claimed I had a legal duty to provide for her because she was indigent and I was her adult child. Her lawyer wrote a letter filled with moral speeches dressed up as legal language, how she invested in raising me, how I benefited, how I owed. I hired an attorney. My attorney read the documents, blinked twice, and said, "This is bold." In court, the judge scanned the filing, asked a couple of questions, and shut it down so fast it barely felt real. Dismissed, no grand debate, no dramatic speeches, just a judge with no patience for weaponized entitlement. My mother tried to approach me outside the courtroom, but security stopped her before she could get close. I watched her from a distance, small and furious, and felt something I didn't expect to feel. Not triumph, relief. Because for the first time, the world was telling her no in a language she couldn't twist. A week later, her lawyer's office mailed me an invoice for unpaid fees because she couldn't pay him. I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote one line on the envelope and sent it back. Return to sender. Bad investment. Last I heard, my mother is still working 2 jobs, 6 days a week. She tells people a version of the story where she's the victim. I don't correct her, because correcting her would mean staying in the story, and I'm not. I'm building a life. I paid down my loans, I built savings, I built stability from scratch with nothing but stubbornness and the promise I made to my dad when I didn't understand why he asked for it. On my dad's birthday this year, I drove out to a quiet overlook with a cup of coffee and the old keychain he gave me when I got my learner's permit. I sat there, listened to the wind, and said out loud, I kept my promise. I fought for myself. I didn't win by destroying her. I won by refusing to be destroyed. And if you're listening to this, and you're the person everyone expects to rescue them, if you're the safety net they keep cutting holes in, remember this. Sometimes the most brutal revenge is simply refusing to be someone's emergency exit. This is Revenge File Tales. Like, subscribe, and stay close, because the next file is already waiting.